In an era where football worships at the altar of the precocious, where a 17-year-old with 3 good dribbles gets a €50 million price tag, and where social media demands instant greatness or immediate dismissal, there's a story that refuses to follow the script. Alisson Santos doesn't fit the comfortable narrative that football loves to sell. This isn't about early explosion. This isn't about immediate idolatry. This isn't about inevitable success handed on a silver platter. This is about resistance. Born in Itapatinga, deep in the interior of Bahia, Alisson grew up far from the shop windows, far from the spotlights, far from the ideal structures that produce modern footballers. Like thousands of other Brazilian boys, he played football because he loved it, because on that field he was free, because in that moment football was still a dream, not a demand. The game that changed everything happened in 2017. In Itabuna, a friendly match, a modest crowd, low expectations. But for those who knew how to look beyond the obvious, that game had something different. Carlos Anunciaco, Carleo, then youth coordinator at Vitória, wasn't looking for statistics. He was looking for signs. And they were right there. Alisson was the smallest player on the pitch. Frail. No ready-made physique. But he attacked space like few others. Made quick decisions. Didn't hide. He was exactly the type of player modern football often discards too early. Carleo saw what most would ignore. Not a ready-made player, but a project. He took Alisson to Vitória, knowing there would be no immediate return. Knowing the body wouldn't catch up to the talent in the short term. Knowing he would have to insist when the environment demanded results. That choice today seems obvious. Back then, it was almost an act of rebellion. In his first years in the youth system, Alisson lived a cruel paradox. Technically, he played well. He thought the game above average. But he lost duels. Suffered with intensity. Always seemed physically behind. Many would have given up there. He didn't. Even under pressure, he didn't hide. Even being smaller, he demanded the ball. Even making mistakes, he tried to decide. This detail separates careers. Rodrigo Chagas, himself a product of Vitória's Fábrica de Talentos, took the symbolic step. He promoted Alisson to the professional team at 17. Few minutes, little protection, high risk, and the context couldn't have been worse. Vitória was experiencing both sporting and institutional collapse. Internal crises, fragile squad, constant defeats. This is not an environment to develop a young attacker. This is an environment that destroys confidence. Alisson felt this in his skin. He played. He fluctuated. He made mistakes. He was held accountable as if he were the solution. He never was. The numbers don't help. 44 games. 2 goals. But numbers without context lie. The fans distanced themselves. The label came fast. Patience ran out early. And football, when it loses patience, tends to expel talent before its time. If Alisson Santos' story had ended at Vitória, it would be just another among so many that Brazilian football produces every year. A promise that emerged early, faced difficulties in the professional ranks, and disappeared into the constant noise of a system that doesn't know how to wait. But football sometimes offers detours. And it was exactly in one of those detours that Alisson's career truly began. After failing to establish himself at Vitória, the loan to Náutico in 2023 emerged as an attempt at a fresh start. In theory, it made sense. A traditional club. Familiar pressure. Serie C again. In practice, the scenario repeated itself. Few minutes. Little continuity. Heavy weight. Náutico was living through its own instability. Changes demands urgency for results. For an attacker still trying to understand himself physically and emotionally, the environment was more a survival test than an evolution opportunity. Alisson scored only 1 goal and provided 1 assist in 15 games. For those who look at numbers, that seems like little. For those who understand process, it was just another poorly fitting stage. It's at this moment that many careers end. The player starts being seen as the one who didn't make it. The market loses interest. Opportunities diminish. And the athlete himself starts to doubt. But Alisson's career didn't follow this path. Because unlike many, he understood something essential. It wasn't about insisting on the wrong stage, but finding the right context. The loan to Figueirense didn't make headlines. No exaggerated expectations. No fans demanding genius. It had something much more valuable, time. At Figueirense, Alisson didn't arrive as a promise. He arrived as someone trying to prove himself. This status change is brutal. When the player stops being the one who needs to explode and becomes the one who needs to evolve, the game changes. With regular minutes, clear function, and less external noise, the football reappeared. The verticality returned. The attack on space returned. The confidence returned. In 23 games, Alisson scored 6 goals. They weren't spectacular numbers. And it's important to say this. They were sustainable numbers. More important than the goals was the behavior. He started understanding the game better, choosing actions better, making fewer mistakes out of anxiety. The player who used to try to solve everything in one touch started thinking the game in layers. This type of maturation rarely happens under the spotlight. It happens in silence, in training, in repetition. It was at Figueirense that Alisson learned a lesson that few young players assimilate in time. Football doesn't reward speed, it rewards consistency. This performance caught attention outside Brazil. And for the first time, Europe emerged not as a distant dream, but as a logical path. Vitória, still holding the players' rights, saw there a real opportunity for appreciation, both sporting and financial. The move to União Leiria in Portugal, in September 2024, wasn't a leap in the dark. It was a calculated step. Portugal has always been fertile ground for Brazilians needing gradual adaptation. Less cultural shock, similar language, tactical football, but still technical. And Alisson responded quickly. In 18 games, he scored 6 goals. Again, not spectacle, but regularity. More than scoring, he adapted, understood the rhythm, the smaller space, the greater demand. The body started keeping up with the game. The mind started deciding at the right time. It was there that Alisson's career stopped being about survival and started being about construction. If there's a moment that separates ordinary players from athletes reliable enough for European football, it happens when the scenario changes. Not in the easy game, not in the route. It's when the game gets heavy. And it was exactly there that Alisson Santos changed levels. The arrival at Sporting represented a qualitative leap that doesn't appear just in the crest or the league. It represented an environment of high daily demand. A club accustomed to competing for titles, forming players, and regularly competing in continental tournaments. Alisson didn't arrive as a star. He arrived as an option. And this again worked in his favor. At Sporting, space had to be conquered in silence. Training after training, decision after decision, controlled error, valued success. He didn't have an immediate run as a starter, but he had something more important, progressive trust. In 696 minutes on the pitch, Alisson directly participated in 6 goals. 3 goals, 3 assists. Direct participation every 116 minutes. For a rotation player in a competitive squad, that's efficiency. But numbers, in this case, tell only part of the story. The true turning point was where and when these goals happened. The Champions League doesn't forgive. Error becomes elimination. Hesitation becomes headline. Fear becomes sentence. And it was in this environment that Alisson responded. 2 goals in the final minutes. Both in contexts of maximum pressure. Both when the game seemed to be slipping away. The most symbolic of them came against Athletic Bilbao. A goal that guaranteed Sporting's direct qualification to the round of 16. And, as a bonus, eliminated Real Madrid from the competition. Let that sink in for a moment. A kid from Itapatinga, Bahia, who couldn't establish himself in Brazil's Serie C, scoring decisive goals in the Champions League that knocked out Real Madrid. This type of moment can't be taught, can't be trained, can't be simulated. It reveals competitive character. Inside the club, Alisson earned a curious nickname, Amulet. Not because he was magical, but because he appeared when the game demanded courage. This detail completely changes how the market observes a player. Elite clubs don't just look for technical talent. They look for players who respond under pressure. And for an attacker, that's gold. The boy who was questioned in Serie C was now deciding games on the biggest stage in world football. This transition wasn't chance. It was consequence. Sporting quickly realized they had in their hands a player mentally stronger than his age suggested. Someone who doesn't hide, doesn't get intimidated, doesn't force protagonism, understands his role. This profile is extremely rare. It was from this point that Alisson's name started circulating in reports from bigger clubs. Not as a bet, but as a profile ready to climb the ladder. Among these clubs, one appeared with strategic clarity, Napoli. Napoli wasn't looking for a media superstar. They were looking for a functional attacker. Someone capable of attacking space, offering intensity, fulfilling tactical function, deciding when necessary. Alisson fit perfectly. When Napoli advanced in the negotiation, there was no improvisation. There was deep analysis. The business model makes this clear. Loan for 3.5 million euros. Purchase option set at 16.5 million. This isn't a test. It's planning. Napoli didn't buy the kid from Serie C. They bought the player who survived it. They bought someone who made mistakes early, was questioned, was discarded, learned, came back stronger. This type of formation doesn't appear in basic scouting. It appears in trajectory. Alisson Santos' arrival at Napoli symbolizes something bigger than a simple transfer. It symbolizes the victory of process over haste. Arriving in the Italian Serie A isn't just changing countries. It's changing languages. In Italy, football demands comprehension, demands reading, demands discipline, and above all, demands responsibility without the ball. Alisson Santos arrives at Napoli at a peculiar moment for the club. It's not a team in total reconstruction, nor a settled squad. It's a team that demands maximum intensity, tactical organization, and collective obedience. And that changes everything for an attacker. Unlike previous contexts, Alisson doesn't arrive to prove he's a football player. He's already proven that. Now, he needs to prove he understands the game. Napoli doesn't expect excessive dribbling, doesn't expect constant spectacle, expects function, expects someone who attacks space at the right time, presses the ball, exit rebuilds, when necessary, is objective in the few chances that appear. Alisson fits exactly this profile. His greatest asset in Serie A won't be individual brilliance. It will be game reading. He's not an attacker of long, random bursts. He's a player who accelerates after control, who chooses the right moment to attack the last line, who understands when opening space is more important than touching the ball. This type of attacker grows in Italy. Another fundamental point is the psychological moment. Alisson arrives at Napoli without illusions. He's already been questioned, already been discarded, already been told he wouldn't make it. Today, that doesn't paralyze him. It strengthens him. European football demands exactly this: the ability to make mistakes without collapsing. Napoli also understands that you don't build a Brazilian player by force. That's why the plan is clear. Gradual adaptation, controlled minutes, well-defined function, progressive growth. There's no promise of immediate protagonism. And this again works in his favor. Serie A punishes those who try to skip steps. Alisson, through everything he's lived, seems to have learned this early. But this story isn't just about him. It says a lot about Brazilian football. For years, Brazil confused formation with urgency. Those who didn't produce early were discarded. Those who took time to explode were forgotten. Those who made mistakes rarely got a second chance. Alisson got one, and he knew how to seize it. His trajectory shows that not every talent is born ready to decide at 18. Some need to make mistakes, move around, fall, come back stronger. The problem is that football doesn't always allow this path. Vitória, despite all the problems, played a fundamental role. Identified, formed, insisted, even when immediate results didn't come. And now they reap the fruits. The financial return isn't just money. It's validation of method. Shows that forming players is still worth it. That patience can still generate results. For Alisson, Napoli isn't the end of the line. It's the toughest test so far. Serie A doesn't forgive distraction, doesn't accept lukewarm games, doesn't tolerate lack of tactical commitment, but it also respects those who deliver. Whether he'll become a protagonist, an important piece, or just a solid name in European football, no one can say for sure. And that's good, because the story isn't closed. What can already be stated is that Alisson Santos got here on merit, not by hype, not by comparison, not by empty promise, by persistence. In football, the strongest stories rarely start with applause. They start with doubts and end with respect. Alisson Santos is living proof that the path isn't always linear, that failure isn't final, that context matters more than raw talent, and that patience, genuine structural patience, can transform a boy who is too small, too frail, too slow to develop into a Champions League hero. The kid from Itapatinga, who almost disappeared into Brazilian football's recycling bin, is now deciding games in Europe's biggest competition. And he's not done yet. If you enjoy football analyzed with calm, context, and responsibility, not just highlights and hot takes, hit that like button. Subscribe to the channel so you don't miss the next deep dive. And join the conversation in the comments. How far can Alisson Santos go? Is this the beginning of something bigger, or has he already reached his ceiling? I'll read you in the comments. Because not every talent is born ready, but every great player needs time. And some stories deserve to be told from beginning to end. Thanks for watching. See you in the next video.